we'll see. It's the same agenda as always.
Yeah, but there's like, I feel like there's not much
Underneath it? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, normally there's like more stuff.
Alright, I think we're all set. Shall we start?
Yes.
Sorry to be late. Hey, let's start with the normal, going over last month's very quick minutes. Which I wrote, so I'm not going to read them. Margaret, do you mind taking notes? Do you want to find something to take notes?
No, I'll take notes.
Okay.
I was planning.
Why don't you discussion of stomach?
I move to approve the minutes.
Hold on.
Ah, you're quick.
Well, they were out. I read them.
I haven't seen them yet.
Oh, wait a second. Would you guys just mind writing your names down for the minutes?
Sure.
Thank you. You just write them anywhere on there. Pass them on.
Disposable time.
Right. Just people just take. My parents are retired.
I think we should change it from from Margaret Graciano on vacation to Margaret Graciano was circumnavigating Annapurna. Just so people know how intense, how awesome you are. I think that's what we should do.
Thanks. And that's the very brief agenda too. It's just everything.
That's the one I read on the.
All right, great.
It's very complete.
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of those PowerPoint presentations where you see the dot points, and we'll get to the rest later.
Yeah.
There's no
Town is
rest.
probably going to spray road signs and trying to bunch all work together, like bunch all of us to work together.
No.
Or like bunch all the spraying.
The
together?
road agent was saying that there might be spraying in town, and in which case they were trying to see who's interested in having spraying and just having all done at once by the same individual.
Oh, okay.
Bunch the work together.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
No, I already did that.
I second Bill.
All in favor? All right. Accepted as they are. Do either of you have public comment that does not pertain to the Falls, Prospect Farm, Gray's Inn, or conservation easements in town? Because those things will just come up. So, I mean, like, feel free to speak up when we get to this. I'm just asking if there's other things.
Public comments?
You can comment at any point during the meeting. If it was something not on those 4 subjects, then yes. But if it's a new order of business, I guess this would be
The time to speak
the
up?
time to speak up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now's the time for me to speak up. I'm Annie Bordash. I don't know all of you. I know some of you, though. It has come to my attention about this is sort of pertaining to the Falls area. And my husband and I were not sure if you were aware of the quit claim deed that pertains to who is in charge of what sections of the sides of the falls, either the left or the right-hand side of the falls. Now, I'm asking that question. If you don't know about it, go to the selectmen and they will have a copy of it, which will give you direction. And it was written up from Ernie Mallett to the selectmen and the town of Jackson. When Peter Kelly was a selectman.
Mallard?
Like Ernie Mallett.
Okay.
So like early 80s? Is that what
Yes, yeah.
And
And it's called the quit claim deed.
yeah, and what
So as
And what it will say is, it will give you who has, who's in charge of the west bank of the road and by the falls, and who has say or is in charge of the falls area itself, all the way down to where that gazebo is now, and the bridge that had washed out, and it gives you more information
And
as to.
clarity, yeah.
What's that?
More clarity as to how things
Well,
work.
yeah, it gives you guys more power to know who's in charge of what and what can and cannot and has been already invented, instead of you having to kind of muddle around
Way back.
and not know, that it's all, there may already be an RSA or something like that in that regard. So.
Do you feel there are information in there do you feel there's particular information in there that you're aware of that you would want us to know about?
My husband is much more aware of what's in there, and he thinks that you guys should know this.
Yep.
Do you know?
And that's why I'm bringing it forward, because I don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he said what you guys should look into is this quit claim deed.
Does everyone know George Bordash and what George is
He had
responsible?
been on the Conservation Commission itself years ago. He also actually was a member of the Wild and Scenic Rivers group, and he actually wrote it. So, no, not the quit claim. He actually did the writing and met with all the Forest Service and that, and Parks people, and actually wrote it out, typed it out, and everything. So that's who he is, and that's why he's concerned and speaking of, but he can't be here tonight, so.
And I'm sorry to make you repeat yourself, but Ernie Mallett gave the quitclaim deed to the town?
To the town.
Okay,
Yeah.
just so I have it right in the minutes. And how long ago was that? Do you
It
know?
would have been in the
Early
80s.
80s, I think.
Okay. And when you say who is in charge of what sections of the river, is it like a property ownership thing? Or
well, if
is
you
it
were
just
to
like a
read-
caretaker?
It's like, who's the caretaker? Who's in, how there's supposedly no parking on the west side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing. It's written out that, that sort of thing. Which side's the west side?
The west side, he lives on.
The castle side.
Okay.
The lucky side.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. All right. Well, on that, I guess we can skip to the falls. Start there since we're there. Come back to Prospect Farm. I didn't have anything particular for the falls on the agenda, besides, I guess, continuing the conversation that we've been having. I did notice there are some signs missing, so I don't know if we wanted to, which I think Mark has, some of the Welcome to Jackson Fall little signs. I think we should get those from Mark and put them up if he still has extras. If not, think about getting more. I think that was the only particular thing I noticed besides the general ongoing conversation about all of the people stampeding everywhere. But
And just an update, we agreed that we would take a polling of how many cars are averaging on a day at the falls. Roughly about 30 vehicles are parking there. A maximum number that we've seen is 33 legally, and up to 37 vehicles have been there at any one time. But the average is closer to 30. And obviously on a great day, it's maxed out. Parking is not always done according to Hoyle, largely because of the disrepair of the parking area.
yeah, that's a good point also.
And the parking areas, for example, the high-end lot there, where 4 cars are supposed to be, has a 2-foot drop in the middle of it.
Yes.
And the same is true of the
bottom.
15-space parking area,
Yeah.
where it's dangerous to park there
Yep.
right now.
That's a good point.
For vehicles.
Do we? I was thinking we could approach Pat and basically ask him to fill it back in. We might have to buy the fill, but that's that'd be the.
I wouldn't think we'd have to do that. I think that would be part of their regular maintenance.
I think so also,
When
but
they did the check dams, we didn't pay for any of that.
Yeah.
That's-
but I think the couple times I've talked to him, he's usually like, if I've got it, if I have to make a special order to get something, then he would consider charging us for whatever he'd ordered. But
Yeah.
if it's on hand,
Never paid in the past.
Wouldn't want to start pressing.
No, I don't know if you want to start the precedent.
The other thing too is there's this big hunk of plywood that must have come out from the July 1st storm, and it's leaning against a tree and there are nails sticking out of it. So somebody must have found it. It's down by the guardrail down in that section.
Yeah, it did come out of the
It's not
water.
that big. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's big. I mean, you can't just throw it. I can't just
It
throw it.
came from upstream.
Yeah.
It is big, yeah.
So I don't know if maybe Pat could throw that in his truck.
yep.
Be good to get that out.
All right, so we've got fill in the 2 parking areas, pick up the plywood. I was going to ask him if he wouldn't mind replacing the rotten board on the picnic table, if that's if they have the time to pick that up, and maybe clean out or reshape leading to the upper check dam just below the upper parking area, because for that big storm, after the big storm, it filled in and the water was just missing it and washing downhill of it and not going over the actual check stones. They almost, I don't know, we should rake the sand back up to the parking lot, but that's how entropy works. There's not really any winning.
As far as the porta potty, a couple of updates on that. One is that they increased the service to 2 times a week instead of 1 time a week. And that is just managing to keep up with the level of activity there. The activity there is roughly about 10 times the level of the one that's down by the library. Just to give you a sense of its use. But the 2 services apparently are keeping up with at least the toilet paper demand, whereas before it was not. The other thing they did was the sound factor. They put some plumber's putty on the door.
Oh, so it doesn't slam.
So when it closes, it doesn't make the same sound that it used to. So it dampens the sound.
Good.
But
The other thing I would say too is that there's not much trash. I would have thought there would have been more trash accumulating around the porta potty. And
again,
I'd take a swing by.
it's being serviced twice, and the guy also cleans up the trash
well, that's nice.
twice a week.
Huh?
So that's why that's happening.
Okay.
We have somebody who's actually physically, if you go by there on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's gross.
Okay.
But he's coming in twice a week and he's cleaning up around the area.
Okay.
But it is gross.
I've not seen that yet.
Going back to the parking spots, Bill, when you say the 33 on average, those are legitimate parking spots,
Well,
like
simply-
not
well,
including Valley Cross Road.
That's not including Valley Cross.
Okay.
And that's including folks who park like this on the side of the road
On the
so that
bank.
they, on the bank, so they can stay off the pavement, which is legal.
Mm-hmm.
Not that one.
I have issues with that sign.
Yeah, I appreciate that we don't like that, but that's currently what.
Yeah. No, I
what we-
get it.
you know, if we don't like what we have, we should change what we have.
Mm-hmm.
But people coming in are following the rules.
I've been trying to judge as I go by, once a day at least, whether, obviously it's busy because it's the summertime, but if it seems different and if there's any overflow from essentially the Diana's Baths being shut down, like if we're seeing an increase in visitors, because
I
without,
would say it's no different than it was last year,
yeah.
or the year before, or the year before that.
It's just busy.
Have you guys been seeing people park on Valley Cross Road? Because I personally
Yes.
think those signs
Yes,
are a little.
Not
Confusing.
on the area near Dick's house, but on the opposite side of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get between 8 and 10 cars there on a weekend day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we need the signs on the other side of the bridge, and they need to be facing so people can see.
Right.
The other side, like
Common sense.
across the river, not
Yeah.
like the other side this way.
Oh, on the east side of the river? People park over there also?
Oh, yeah, and that creates problems with driving and going over the bridge. safety issues.
Well, and I think when you look, the first sign that you see is the no trucks on the bridge sign. And I feel like that's where the no parking should be, because that's the most visible spot.
And I think they need to be faced so you can see them.
Because they're both no parking between
Yeah.
signs, but I feel like it's unclear that they're like
Yeah.
bookending.
Right.
But yeah, I've also seen people park there. I also spoke to our police chief about it, and he knows about it, and he's ticketing people who park there. You know, so there is some enforcement. I don't know how often they're
There
up
is some
there.
enforcement that when they do go by, and usually their first order of business is to see if they can find the person who's parking there and ask them to please move it,
Yeah, which is good.
which is, I think, the right way to do that. And then if they can't locate the person, I think they are ticketing, but they haven't ticketed out, I think, that very much.
Hmm.
And they don't police it all that often.
Yeah, and I also asked, this is slightly off the parking issue, but if they felt like there was any new or different public safety issues, and they said, no, you know, it seems fine, leaving all erosion and stampeding aside. You know, from their perspective, it
People
seems.
aren't just hanging out there because there's a porta potty.
Yeah, they were saying it. You know, seems like always and seems fine, the usual. I mean, I guess the one long-term thing we've talked about would be proposing to remove the parallel parking on Carter Notch Road entirely and just have essentially, I forget what we counted, 18 spots if you fit really tightly on the bottom, and then the 4 spots on the corner, and then the handicap spots, and then removing the parallel parking in between.
If you fix the lot down below, it would be able to accommodate 16 safely.
Yeah.
And the other lot is supposed to be only for 4 vehicles.
Yeah, I saw a school bus parked there one day, which blew my mind, but.
Right, or either that
Yeah.
or someone pulling in with a trailer
Yeah.
and just pulling in.
The other thing that the chief suggested, which I wouldn't know how to, with the current way the parking lot is, implement, would be in that 18 or 16 or 18 spot lot, if we could get people to come in at an angle instead of directly, that it would be safer backing out of traffic, even though you'd be then forced to go up to either do a UE at Valley Cross or go all the way back around to the village. But I don't know how you would implement that, you know, without paving it and putting stripes down, which I don't think we really want to be doing.
Get that limer out.
Yeah.
Yeah, every morning. Just like a baseball field.
Some kid love a summer job doing that, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know if we switch the head-in parking to like diagonal head-in, but
Yeah.
that's hard to communicate.
And which way?
Right, maybe coming down or
Yeah.
Can I make a public comment?
Yeah, please.
Have you, I know that maybe it's been discussed, but have you considered that, and I believe it's the 18 spot, you know, the one that you'd like diagonal,
Mhm.
to be a drop-off zone only? I know,
Yeah.
I looked into, the reason I mention this is because Singing Beach in Manchester, Massachusetts, people have to walk a half a mile from the train station, and they do, to the beach. These people are from away. These people are some of those people that would come, and if we had the parking down in the village, which we have, and still had your handicap parking, but made that 18 a drop-off zone sort of for 4 cars. Safely, you could have 4 cars letting people load all their stuff and their kids and whatever they have, and then direct them to either the ski touring parking lot, which is not that far,
Yeah.
or all the way down to the village, which is still not a half a mile.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
As a possibility. And if you really wanted to have a few spaces for not only the handicap, but if you wanted to have some Jackson resident only, I know that becomes an issue too, you know, but have it sticker parking only.
Yeah, I think to the first part of it, I think if we were to well, the general feedback that we have gotten is that the select board, in the view of the town, doesn't want to reduce net parking too far. So if we wanted to say remove parallel parking, we would have to, I think, propose something like a drop-off zone, which we could say, okay, we're removing 8 parallel parking
Right.
spots, but now we have a drop-off zone and you can go park at ski touring or wherever. So I think we would have to do that kind of compromise to remove the parallel parking. As far as the residents only, I imagine the town, however the town would weigh in on that, would have
Yeah,
to decide
that's-
to go down that road.
Kind of issue.
Yeah.
It's either a town meeting or the town selects people. Again, I don't know what your document says for quick voting, but
Right.
it would seem to me that is simply a matter of the town deciding how they want to manage the property.
Right.
And that's not a decision we make necessarily. We can recommend, I think, that's what we've heard and that's what would be a good thing to do. I'd have to recuse myself from the conversation because
Right.
I live across the street,
Right,
and
right.
anything that
Right.
reduces the number of cars sitting in front of my house would be wonderful. But again, I have a strong sense that we should have good access, and so how do you do that and make sure you maintain good access for everyone?
Right. Well, perhaps it could be a lottery, obviously, because of the 800 or more people who are residents of, here, you're not going to have parking for just town
Everybody,
people
but-
anyway. But if you had a lottery of, I'm not interested in being at the falls. I have access to the Wildcat River from my own property, so you're never going to, it's been 25 years since I've been there.
Yep.
Not just because of parking, just because I have no interest in being at, the public falls.
Yes, Joyce.
Can I talk, just because Annie's beginning to bring up the reason that I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Please.
After I think it must have been the June meeting
Yeah.
when I was here, when you talked a lot about the falls. I went home and I was kind of just stewing because I thought you spent, I think you said, maybe I got this at the selectmen's meeting, I might be mixing up the meetings, but it was $80,000 on the fence, right? That he's
Take a zero off that.
Say it again?
Take a zero off that.
8,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was.
Okay, 8,000. That sounds a lot better.
Oh, some fence.
I guess it was you were around 10,000 or something and you spent 8 or something like that.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. No, that would have been awful. But I thought, we've spent, the town taxpayers have spent that money for the fall.
Actually, we didn't pay any money out of the taxpayers.
Really, what is it?
That cost taxpayers this much.
Came out of there's a trust specifically for the west side, the west bank of the river, between the bridges, essentially between the Iron Bridge and the Stone Bridge. So there's a trust to improve just that stretch of the west bank of the falls.
To maintain it, yes.
Yeah,
And it hadn't been touched for quite a while.
it hasn't been touched yet in a very long time.
Well, maybe that takes the wind out of my sails.
Well, no, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Well, no, that's a good thing.
Because I thought, we're spending money on that. You people are the most hardworking people I've seen. I am of any board in town. Because I know the untold hours that you put in improving and trying to stop the erosion. And I thought, Jackson people don't even come and use this place because it's so crowded. It's too hard to. I would walk down and ride my bike. It's not really a problem. But on the other hand, I just think that the town isn't getting the use of Jackson Falls. Jackson people are not. And it was sort of beginning to bug me. And I thought, so when I thought about it and when I went to the next selectmen's meeting, I suggested that maybe to make this nicer for Jackson people, because I look too, Bill. I go up and down and I was checking the number of spaces, and the day that I was there were 3 New Hampshire cars, I don't know if they were Jackson or not, but there were 3 New Hampshire cars, and the rest of the 30 some odd were out of state. And I thought, look at this, Jackson people can't even come here. And I said to the selectmen, I think, why don't we just make this for Jackson residents only? Tamworth does it, Eaton does it, you know. I thought, why don't we make it just for Jackson people? Well, they weren't all too excited about that. And I'm not sure why. I mean, I question how much money people who come to the falls and spend the day, I question how much money they spend in the town. I don't think they spend any, really. And they're causing the erosion, they're causing the mess. When I was there last week, there were people walking all through. They were picking blueberries, I guess, because they were walking all over the place. And I know you can't stop it all, but, you know, I thought these aren't even Jackson people who are enjoying this place, and they're making a mess. And as I say, I've been kind of stewing about it ever since. But regarding so they did follow up a little bit. The selectmen did follow up on, so when the selectmen didn't really think that was a great idea to make it just for Jackson people, John Allen, who might have been here today, but apparently his golf was on, so he didn't show up. But he said, well, how about maybe allotting a few spaces just to Jackson residents? And I thought, well, hey, a few is better than nothing, so I was willing to listen to that. And so they did a little follow-up, I think the Julies did, and they decided, and they looked into it and found that because it's a state road, we can't interfere too much with that. This is what they told me. You can't interfere with that parking, can't make it just for Jackson residents, or you can't just take 3 or so spaces and make them for Jackson residents without going through a permitting process. And apparently this type of thing can take time. And I'm willing to take the time. You know, I'm willing to follow up on it.
You have time.
And then John suggested, and I actually have some pictures, but you probably know this place so well. John said, well, maybe we could go around the corner to the Valley Cross Road, and there's the outhouse there. Then there's a space, there's a big rock, and then there's another space where there's some big rocks, and then there's a third space. And John figured that we could get the town crew to move those rocks back in 2 of those spaces, and the third space that's closest to the bridge could be a parallel spot. You mean you wouldn't even have to move a rock, but he thought if you move the rock back, you could have a head-in parking 1, 2, and then have a parallel space. And in fact, the day that I went and took these pictures, there was somebody already parked there, the one that's closest to the bridge. They parked a truck there while they were just walking around, I guess. But in any case, there's the outhouse, there's the rock, there's the next space with the rock, and this is that same space that would be a parallel place. But
As a local resident, I would object to that, because we agreed to increase the size of the corner lot to add a 4-car lot, and agreed to not have parking on Valley Cross and to maintain the same density of parking. And so what you're asking now is to have 7 parking spots where there were only 2 previously on the corner, and then 3 that were on Valley Cross. So what you're asking now is to increase the number of vehicles, sound, noise, people on that spot, and also to infringe on Victor Value's property again. And you already did that with an outhouse, thank you very much, sitting right across from his property.
I would hate it.
Exactly, you hate it. And so now you're saying that we agreed as locals to increase the parking on that corner to avoid parking on Valley Cross to maintain the same density. So now what you're suggesting is, now that we've gotten 4 vehicles, we should now make that where 2 only could park before, now we're up to 7.
Yeah.
But also, I would just add, part of our plan, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, it was Greg Howard, that's his name, right? Our soil scientist that did a study of Jackson Falls, and he wrote up erosion control and measures and advice for what we could do to help mitigate the erosion, was to eliminate parking on Valley Cross Road. That was one of his points that he made, and that was approved by the selectmen. So I see your point, and I think certainly the residents-only parking spaces are worth considering. But the issue with Valley Cross Road was originally because of erosion on that spot. So a little bit would seem like a step back to reopen that.
I hear you.
parking.
Obviously, I didn't know all that.
Yeah.
John was just thinking, if we got off the Carter Notch Road route and went over into the Valley Cross, we could do it without
The state.
getting the state's approval. You know, and I think he was trying to help me. He was trying to be helpful, and so he said, well, let's look at this, because then we won't, all we can do is, get some approval without.
Any parking doesn't seem to be the.
Yeah. To add a little more history,
moving the parking to an outer area
yeah.
is
Different
what will
location.
help the overusage. It'll almost be self-controlling.
Well, that's exactly so. The more parking, the more density you have.
If you
people.
build it, they will come, and we built it, to be safer, to keep them off of Carter Notch Road, so that they can head further in, because we've been pushing it closer to the falls on that east side, and now we've got erosion, and we've got them tramping through the underbrush, and they're picking blueberries. I don't know if we're planting those blueberries, but we ought to be planting raspberries. Something. The birds and
Yeah. The blueberries will unfortunately die with our current management plan, because the blueberries were maintained by cutting over the many years as specifically because people like to pick there. And now that we're not cutting the understory, we're letting it grow up in 5 to 10 years.
That was a big mistake, was having the selectmen allow somebody come in and he clear cut all
every
the
year.
undergrowth.
So
Below, I know.
John, I noticed when I was down there that somebody's been snapping. Anybody seen that? The snapping the small stuff?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In the
So
blueberries?
the saplings that we
Yeah,
planted?
Not the ones we planted, but the stuff that's coming up on the blueberries.
Oh, I can see that, trying to preserve.
Glossy buckthorn. It's like I think they have some concept of the way it should look, and they're.
Or if they just want the blueberries to not get shadowed out by the maples or
It was
whatever.
just in the blueberry area. One was in the blueberry area,
Oh,
there were
that's
two more.
so.
And I just noticed them just snapped.
But let me propose a couple ideas for discussion, and then hopefully we can move on.
People who demonstrate how well they can jump over new fence.
Yeah, well, then there's the poison ivy. There is always poison ivy or something that we could,
Well,
not
there is
get
some.
rid of so much.
And there is some of that.
I know.
Yeah,
I
there
know.
All right, a couple more things on the fall. So I think we could take all of this, and I am definitely willing to take some of the ideas and write it up, and we can maybe continue a discussion of a more formal proposal to bring to the select board for next spring, including maybe swapping parking and parallel parking and all that. So I can write that up. If anyone want to help.
Will that include the sentence about removing the parallel parking on Carter Notch Road? That'll be a sentence.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, what's the feeling about that? If I hear most of you would like to not have that. Is
Yes,
that
I
correct?
think we would like to not have that. I think we've slowly been getting
Is
there,
that
but
correct?
I think
I
part of
think-
it is that I hear from the comments that people come in is that they don't have the same experience at the falls that they've had before because of the concentration, the density of usage. So if you actually use the falls, it's just congested. I use the falls,
Yeah.
so I go down there and I know people cycle through, but there are a lot of people there.
So, all right, how about I will write up something to kind of like encapsulate what we've done, reference the past things, and propose a couple future actions along those lines of drop-off zone, no parking, no parallel parking,
I think to Joyce's point, if it does require that we work with the state to accomplish that.
And I mean, as far as, I mean, I guess I personally would want direction from the town, however that needs to come before we go down the like
No, I-
sorting out who gets to park where sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, you had, I felt, well, in agreement, John also agreed that we couldn't start anything without coming to you first. You know, you would be the primary,
Yeah.
and yes, the primary group. Then, you know, police probably, and then the selectmen, who would have to approve the whole thing anyway. But, I mean, if I were to pursue, nothing was probably going to happen this year anyway. It's so late in the year. But if I were to pursue trying to get some spaces for Jackson residents only, would that
Fine with me.
be okay with this group? Would you object to that?
I think I probably would, but I might be in the minority. In the group.
I go
think
back
would-
and forth. I
would
mean, I
probably
see
do
that
it.
Tamworth, you know, and all the other folks have their town resident parking only in places that were probably totally overrun once upon a time. I guess ultimately my answer is like kind of the one that the Forest Service gives when they talk about trails. They don't talk about the people that walks over the trail. They talk about the resource that's under your feet. So ultimately, I guess my answer is if we are slowing erosion, I kind of don't care what the means are that get to the slowing of the erosion and the preserving of Jackson Falls itself, the inherent land that's underneath it. I think the social issue of whether or not we want to like basically kick out outsiders or not, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the town would have to strongly say that's what we want to do and have a big discussion about it in public with everybody speaking up.
And they have to be policing.
I mean, that
Because,
may,
Yeah.
you know,
and that may not be something for
Everybody has
us.
a dumpster. You know, the locals have dumpsters, which would be.
I do like the idea of the drop off of the parallel. We tried that like 4 years ago. When did we talk about that? We made
It's
a
come up a couple
come
of
up.
yeah.
times.
I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago we made like made some noise about it, but we didn't have backing of people. So if people are interested in that idea, then they just need to be vocal.
And now with the skate touring parking lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good idea to have a drop off zone there.
Hi, I'm Melissa Beasley. I'm just opposing drop-off.
How come? May I ask?
I visited the falls and during the 33 volume, and it's unpleasant. I think you drop off just is going to compound.
You're just asking for more opportunity for higher density of people. And if the point really is around us being a conservation commission, we're trying to keep erosion down. Erosion is principally two factors. One is the river, we can't control that. The other is foot traffic, and we can restrict the density by restricting access, and whether it's town residents or people coming from anywhere else, it's how much access you have to those falls. And that is how many cars can park close by versus people having to walk 4/10 of a mile or 2/10 of a mile. And for the folks who have to walk 4/10 of a mile, you're not going to get that many. And even the 2/10 of a mile, if you walk it, and it's because it's uphill, either which way, people don't like doing that.
It's
But
going to discourage, it's
also-
going
That's
to
good.
discourage.
Yeah, I
And,
think
and
that,
so it reduces the amount of foot traffic that make it to the falls. A lot of people drive by, and if you have the ability for people to drive by and see the falls, because you don't have parking and every vehicle parking there now happens to be an SUV, especially the ones that are parking like this, because they can park anywhere. You can't see the falls for the vehicles.
I think also, well, the thought is that with a drop-off zone, it would perhaps happen in conjunction with reduced parking, so that then people aren't pulling up onto the bank and just driving. Because currently it says no parking on pavement, which I have issues with because I think it encourages people to just pull into the forest even deeper, and that whole bank has no vegetation on it anymore because people have just driven up on it to get off the pavement. So the drop-off zone hopefully would make it so that perhaps we could get rid of some more of the parking so that people aren't driving in there. And then also a little bit what Bill is saying, that maybe it will discourage as many people coming and parking and setting up camp for the whole day. But ultimately, the idea is that it would try to minimize the volume of use, or at least of car traffic. And also from a safety perspective, if we could reduce the parking on Carter Notch Road, it would help make that less of a just cluster, chaotic zone
It's a
during the
funnel
summertime.
coming through there.
Yeah,
Since I lived
Yeah.
beyond there, and it's
People
not the
back
same.
out
It's not
erratically
people,
and
walking in the right-hand side as you go north.
yeah,
Because they're getting out of their car,
yeah,
and they've got their flip-flops and their kids and their, whatever, their cooler,
yeah,
and they're loaded down, and they're just walking there.
yeah.
And it's a state road,
Hmm.
but they're on vacation.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
And we're allowing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Same thing with the
They're
golfers
trying
up
to
at the
parallel
Eagle.
park in that
Yeah.
tight spot. Both
Yeah.
lanes of traffic get stopped. It's,
Yeah, and
it's
when we
ridiculous.
lose those pine trees because the cars are parked
Yeah, that
and
is.
are compacting the roots, it's
Right.
gonna be a
worse
whole
problem.
different
Mhm.
set
So-
of problems.
I guess from an action perspective, then, is it possible for us, you want to put something together as a recommendation from the Conservation Commission to the select folks as to what that might look like? And we
That's
can
essentially
always-
what I was saying a few minutes ago. Is that is what I would draft, and we could talk about next month as something we
can
want to
hammer it
pass
out
on.
and-
Yes, and to give it, and to kind of back up even further, like my impression of this process is we started at the river and kind of went at erosion from the river backwards. So first we try to get people on only certain paths, and now we've spent 45 minutes talking about where they park, but the reality is they still need to get like the 15 feet or the 25 feet from the road to the river. So I guess a little bit want to shift from like talking about the parking to, do we want to put more wood chips on those paths and talk about that, and kind of the whole thing of like, yes, we're reducing people by reducing parking. We're allowing maybe a similar number of people to use the falls by giving them a hardened path to get from the road to the falls. And I know it's unpleasant, but to be like honest, on a regular day, you could probably have twice as many people literally sitting on the falls, and it would be really unpleasant because it'd be packed, but they wouldn't be eroding anything because they're all out on the rock. As long as we can get them from the pavement to the rock, and that's kind of I guess outside to a certain degree, the scope of conservation. That's more of the feel of the town and the falls kind of thing. But the erosion happens like as you park your car, as you walk, and then for the most part, not when you're in the falls. But
And the flip side, I think it was your comment, the other one about shutting it down entirely. Yes?
Yes, just, give it some breathing space.
mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're truly talking about reducing
Yeah.
foot traffic, is to shut down parking entirely.
But can we do that on a state road?
I think that that's going to
Oh,
be.
yeah. We can't change how that gets to your point around the quick lane deed.
Yes.
I think the town has the
And
authority
it
to
may
do
be
that.
up to the selectmen to be the ones, because they're, sorry to say this, they're on top.
They own the
Oh, yeah.
responsibility.
we
know.
make recommendations.
I'm glad.
We are an advisory board, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, that may be, help you delineate who's dictatorial.
Mm. Did you have another comment, Melissa?
And just following up on the drop-off, it's a mixed message you're sending by saying we want to limit the usage, and then you want to blow it out, pun intended, the water by having a drop-off. It's a mixed message entirely. If you have an erosion, parallel parking on the road issue, you really need to, spend more time engineering a concept that doesn't include adding more traffic, which is against the whole philosophy of limiting the use.
I think what Tom was trying to say earlier was that it's looking at the resource, and that the actual resource with hardened trails and done correctly can actually handle more people. And the parking issue is more of a safety concern and driving up and down the road.
And an erosion concern. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like, to me personally, like the big threat is that the parallel parking in between the handicap spot and the 4 spots in the corner. If that gets a big washout in the next Irene and the river comes up high right there, you know, like we lose all those trees and then like basically that part of the falls is gone and the road washes out is like I think the big risk. But I do think we can protect the resource by getting rid of parallel parking. But I think if people are on foot, I don't know that hopefully we would reduce them by reducing parallel parking. But if we are not having those parallel spots be hammered by the weight of cars and coming back to some certain degree of undergrowth or whatever is going to happen on the uphill side of the fence, and people are merely accessing the falls. Basically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots only where you're supposed to walk from the road to the falls now. And just really trying to funnel people onto those 7 things. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, we
Onto
don't
the
want
established paths.
more people, but hopefully by we would remove the spots, keep get growth coming back. Yeah.
I understand the definition of resource for the falls and all that sort of thing, but what you haven't just defined is what is the safe usage number of human beings per any day. I mean, if you're saying 33 cars is overuse, 15, 16 is appropriate use, then you stick to it. You know, what is proper resource for this area in numbers? Not just say, well, it's a resource. The gate's, it's wide open. It's not. It's a minimum use resource. Minimum use resource.
I'm curious what about the drop-off zone in your mind makes you think that it will balloon the use? Because just in my mind, I think of it as a way of reducing the use, but I think maybe that's part of...
Do you have an example in real life of how that works like that? Can you...
I mean, I have been to certain beaches.
You don't have any certain beaches.
Yeah, beaches where there's like, I'm trying to think if there's one locally that I can think of.
With a hill.
Yeah. But I mean, I think like a 2-spot zone that a car can pull up into, let people out, like at a ski area, for example, like outside Attitash or something. I mean, it's a different situation because that's like a paved parking lot, but similar idea that there's a small designated space where 1 or 2 cars pulls up at a time, lets out their kids or their handicapped family members or whoever, and then that car pulls away.
Well, I can think of an example of the schools. Every morning and in the afternoon, they drop the kids off, they pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is, say you have 15 cars, 4 people in a car. So you have X amount of people doing a usage.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you can black and white.
Mm-hmm.
If you have drop off, you're having an unlimited number unknown. You'll never know the number because it's just a stream.
Oh.
And it funnels a stream like a school into the door. The children get dropped off, and you've got 100 people stomping
Mm-hmm.
all over your resource.
But people can park and let people out of the car.
No, you're limiting the spaces. So
Yeah, but you can do a
only
drop
have
off.
X amount of people.
You could drop off 5 people at the bridge.
I mean, I think
But
You could drop off
just,
anywhere
just
you
so you know,
want.
on the heavy days, they're already doing that.
Exactly. So
There
I
are already
don't-
30 or 40 cars
But
doing
it's
the drop-offs because
it's
the
gonna
noise
happen
level
anyway.
is exceptional
It's going to
when
happen
that
anyway.
happens. And so you
So-
do have that happening now on the busy days, and they're parking down by the Historical Society, and they are parking down at the Wentworth. And we are getting, that's the number of cars. That's not the number of people who are actually, nobody goes to the Valley Cross parking area because nobody knows it's there. But there are an awful lot of people who are dropping people off.
Right, I know.
And
It's going to
so
happen
they're not.
regardless if you give them a perfect spot to do it
So
or
what
if you
is
don't.
the number of minimum use? What is the number?
I think that's a question that we can't answer.
We can't
you know.
answer it, and you know, if everyone
Are they
just hung out
conscientious?
on
Are
the
they-
rocks and you know, it wouldn't really add any negative thing onto the footprint other than the fact that there are a gazillion people. It might not make it too pleasant a place to be, but it certainly wouldn't affect erosion. Again, if you had hardscape going down to the rock. But right now we don't, and so all these are hypotheticals that we're talking about, and right now we have to I think Joyce's point, that we have an overuse issue.
We definitely have an overuse. We definitely have an overuse issue. And the thing of it is, if it continues, you won't have a resource, and all of this will be redundant.
So let's deal with the parallel parking and see how that helps out, and then we'll take the next measure. if
Take
necessary.
incremental steps at least.
It seems to be working at protecting the falls. The falls are improving.
When I was there, just one last comment, people were walking upstream under the bridge and continuing up the stream, so it was spreading out rather than being contained at the falls. It was just,
It's a risk. You do.
yes, but if I hear that it's a minimum use resource, and we're allowing an overuse of a minimum use. We're allowing it.
Well, we're trying to eliminate parking to get that number, to see if that
Manage it.
number will drop,
Yeah.
so maybe it can be more easily managed.
It is a section of the Wild and Scenic River, and that section is actually not a minimum use section.
It's a
There
recreational.
are sections of the river further north and that were designated as more multi-use areas, and that's one of them.
Right, it's a recreational.
It's a recreation,
wild.
exactly, and then further
Designation.
down in the village is another section. So we have different designations of the whole Wild and Scenic River for that particular.
I mean, just seeing that the parking is a problem and the congestion to the parks is a problem, let's start there. And
And I did see
Continue
a
to
police
educate.
cruiser up there attending to the parallel parking.
Yeah.
So I think, that's the direction and the line, we can utilize as a
Yeah.
resource to protect the resource.
I also feel,
I like
don't know
it.
if everybody thinks this way, but when you see something more orderly, and you don't see cars parking in crazy ways, and it just looks disrespectful to an area,
Yeah.
people treat it differently.
It
So
sets a different tone.
if you set it up so it looks like people are parking organized and there's enforcement, and the cars aren't there because you're respecting the plants, when you get out of the car, you just feel that.
Yes.
It's like, whoa, okay, kids, let's pay attention. Like, look, you don't do this, you don't do that. But you let it get overrun with vehicles to start. You can't
like
even
an
see the
amusement park.
falls.
Yeah.
It's just a place you abuse because that's what they're doing when they're parking. So I think you just have to start there. And people will maybe just get a broader view when they get out of the car and look, instead of just
Yes.
look at a suburban.
A first impression
Yeah, I mean,
is right at the,
Exactly.
at the yellow line.
you want to see the falls. You want to see the wild.
Yeah.
Well, not wild, but the beauty of it when you approach it, and then carry that as you walk through it.
I'll volunteer to hold a sign that says, please do not park here from noontime to 1 o'clock.
You're on.
Do we have a resource to make the sign, or should
Oh
we
yeah,
have my
I'll
own
build you a
sign?
sign.
Yeah. I mean, I guess something we could consider is actually hiring someone to count. I don't know how I know how DOT does it with their little
Or to
car
have
counters.
like a steward, like Franconia Ridge.
Yeah.
Diana's Bath has.
I actually
one
think
now.
that.
Oh, do they now?
I would do that.
And I guess something I wanted to mention to everyone to make sure
Sacramento
we're
Council does it
in the
too.
bigger picture of the Dinah's Baths, no parking on the road issue is the National Forest, in conjunction with local chambers of commerce, I think, is beginning to address this issue in the whole White Mountain region, particularly driven by Franconia Notch being totally overrun on weekends. If you've driven through Franconia, just hammered with cars. And it looks like they're going back to driven through the forest planning process, but also engaging all the local towns of like, everyone's driving, how do we handle more usage overall? So, I think clearly this is our little local one, but we're part of a bigger picture, which maybe there are other solutions coming to help spread people out or otherwise deal with lots of people.
At Diana's Best, they have about 30 signs for, I didn't
Yeah.
check the mileage, but both sides of the road, and it has a picture of a tow truck, and it says $100 fine. And then when you get closer to the Diane's Best, it has these big A-frame signs saying the whole $100 fine. There is not a car within, a mile of those signs, because $100 is really out there. But, funny to say, I don't know if you know the Glen Builders Construction, they're charging $10 a car to park in their
I heard it was 20.
Good for them.
People are walking that distance and paying $10, $20.
Bill, there you
to
go.
park.
You can start making money.
Yeah, they will. They will.
God, that's a great idea.
I've got 6 spots.
All right, I have.
$60 a day, there you go.
All right, I've got 2 quick questions for the falls. Do you want me to, in my write-up, include more signage or a discussion of signage,
How about
like
bike
additional
signage?
parking or?
Related?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think clearer signage on Valley Cross Road.
Yes.
All right.
Didn't we talk about like an arrow or something directing people to
Yeah.
ski
we have.
touring on that corner?
And there's been
Yeah.
2. Well, at least 2 in my mind. We talked about one on the corner, but also the idea of like, in addition to the welcome to Jackson Falls, please don't leave your litter, but like adding to or whatever those, so that wherever whatever the changes are, it would be there too, rather than just on the corner. And wood chips. What do we want to do about wood chips? Sorry.
No, I think
Do we
Good
still want to
segue.
add? Do we want to add more of this? We've been talking about all summer about whether we want to get the aged wood chips so they blend and we don't get complaints, or if we just get new wood chips and go for it. Say like after Labor Day sometime when there's less people.
Well, maybe if we were putting them on this year, we should do aged and then have our pile aging
All right, so I guess we would need to procure the aged wood chips.
rather
So,
than they have to purchase.
We were
Put them
gonna
down
get
in
them from
September, won't they?
Ryman.
Yeah, I thought Ryman
What's the age over the...
Yeah. So see, I guess it's kind of my question. Do you think we could get away with putting the donated free ones down fresh
No.
in September and let them
Not the
age
ones
in
from
place?
over here. Oh, you mean
No,
donated
from
from
Ryman. Like if we get
Real-
Ryman to
real-
dump
Yeah.
them.
So it seems like the 2 options are get the free ones unaged,
Without too much...
put them down in the fall, let them age, or pay for dyed ones.
I'll call
I
Brian. He
think-
might have a stash.
Well, the
Something
way
that
that I
is-
left it with him, like, I don't know, after our June meeting, was that he was gonna dump them at, on Balloon Road.
talked about that.
I know, well, I missed last month, and apparently it's all different now, and I don't know if he forgot, because I haven't heard a thing from him about it since, or maybe, did you talk to him about it personally?
He did. We've talked about it, but
Okay.
not.
All right.
Maybe they could be dropped
I have a
on the
spot.
side of the road
In
the
big
parallel
strips?
parking
Yeah.
area.
I
Great.
concur.
Right where you
I would
need-
go with the free new ones.
I
think that I think there are aesthetics that matter and aesthetics that don't matter. And I think that falls in the category of an aesthetic that doesn't matter.
All right. Yeah. So how about we shoot for September new chips, and sometime after Labor Day, basically.
Great.
All right. And we'll.
It's too bad we couldn't get a little loan or something
Yeah,
like
we
that.
were gonna mix loan.
Because they gave us this little bitty pile, and you could, this big, roots sticking out.
Yeah, and it's still there.
It would be a cool idea to like bury the roots, but you've got this little bitty pile, it's
Yeah.
probably not worth it.
We can get more loam. I
Yes.
mean, Pat
So
did say
that-
we could have more.
Like where that first picnic table is? 'Cause-
Your reseeding looks very nice, by the way.
Yeah, I tried.
It's coming in.
It came out nice then.
I have more than
And
one.
people are respecting it.
Why they had a bag of steaks in it?
So we could get more loam at the same time too. And that was the thing in particular where he did say like whatever he has on hand he's willing to give to us. If he has to go buy more, then that's what we would have to pony up
Free new chips.
Pony up for the loan.
for the loam. All right.
I do have a location that's more centrally located if we want to start the aging process.
All right.
But we still have to
Where
take.
is it? You make it sound so secret.
Well,
I do have the
we
location.
have a location.
All right.
Once
Let's
it's
end with the falls.
aged. Yeah.
All right. Prospect Farm.
Are there other town properties?
I don't know. There's just the one.
One
tiny one.
Meeting.
We're out of here.
I was like, wow, he's gonna skip everything else.
So the idea of a fall picnic, do we still want to
I think it'd be
pursue?
so fun.
I think so too. I think we could,
Logistically, I think it could be kind of tricky to pull off.
Yeah, I think we need to
But-
shoot for having it mowed in early September and have the picnic in late September. Would you guys come to a picnic up at Prospect Farm if we invited the town?
Sure.
I like the idea, kind of like, you know how Randolph does high tea?
I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, Randolph does a really fun
Parking's
thing
gonna be tough.
called
true.
high tea.
We need a bus.
Drop off.
6 spots.
Show.
Yeah.
People show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you
Mandatory parking lot.
swing an outdoor movie up there?
Oh,
Wow.
giant screen.
Yeah, outdoor
That would be wild.
That would be
laser
wild.
show?
Pick a full moon and call that the movie.
Hey, tomorrow night? Or
Yeah.
no,
You could
it's
fit,
tonight?
how many cars do you think?
Oh,
You
maybe
fit
it's
6 or 7, maybe 8 cars in the Forest Service parking lot?
Yeah. We could
And
open
just
up.
black
We could
and
open the
white
gates and
movies,
have
Open
like.
gates.
Special, that just, you know,
Yeah.
people are on a picnic table and they
I
will.
wonder if you could open the gates and have people park
Um,
along the.
That could be really fun.
Yeah, I think we
We were
could.
thinking maybe
On the
like a
Forest Service, sure, things
harvest
So like
type
a
picnic.
Randolph does the town of Randolph does they do like a high tea. They've been doing it for, I don't know, 150 years or something. And the whole town gets together and they have like lemonade and they have games and there's the different segments of town all compete in various events against each other. So like Durant Rose
Highland
against,
games.
well, except I think they do things like
Highland
charades.
games. Oh, all right, all right.
Anyway, it's just it's a big community event, and it's important since it's a town much like ours that is full of vacant homes. So it's important to get the people that that live there to get together and kind of.
I could
Have
write
fun.
a proposal for the fall picnic and bring it to September's meeting. Would that be too late to like get things going? I
It'll
mean, I guess we
be-
could always do.
I don't have
early.
September around. I don't know when our meeting is in September, given that
It's
Labor
gotta
Day
be,
is
like
the.
the 8th, maybe, or the.
We'd have to basically meet on Labor Day, I think, for it to work,
Oh,
right?
Work
well,
on
we
Labor
could
Day.
always do it in early October.
First Monday is Labor Day.
Okay.
4th.
What's the next one? The 11th.
The next one's the 11th.
So if we met on September 11th, could we pull it off to do it 2 weeks later on September 30th?
Seems like not a lot of notice.
True, but if you give people too much notice, then they forget that it's happening.
Yeah.
Just bring it on them, and they're
All
like,
right.
"Hey, I have no plans." Then they'll come.
Sure.
Do you need to rent porta potties?
It's a good question. Probably.
We can put up a sign. Come self-sufficient.
There are an awful lot of trees.
BYOTP.
The area. One of the first activities, build yourself a tree.
Would you be inviting the business districts as being community? Or is it community residents or community?
I think anybody in the community.
I'd say anyone
would
who
be
considers
welcome.
themselves part of the Jackson community. Right?
Yeah.
So they could bring their goodies or set up something?
Well,
Oh, you mean like tabling, like
Donate food.
products, or?
Or make it potluck.
That's what I
Yeah,
was
I
thinking.
think-
Is a potluck. We can
Yeah.
get some folding tables and tablecloths. People bring something to share, and I mean, pretty informal. I feel like people who are able could hike, but we could reserve part of the Carter Notch Spur Road for people who can't walk that way. They could have access to drive all the way up
Yeah, I think we had pictured it being up at the apple orchard.
at the
but
orchard.
We could have.
Yeah.
We could let people drive up. Well, not we. The Julies.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
ultimately.
But I think we should encourage people who could
Yeah.
hike to it.
And we can have lots of parking on the, what do you call it? The quail trail, basically. I think you could get a lot of cars on the quail trail.
Yeah.
If we have the gate open, we could get a lot of
Right.
parking.
Oh, down
Yeah.
below. Yeah. Yeah, as long as people are parking on the dirt.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write up a little thing and we can talk about it at the next meeting. And in the meantime, I can try to start looking into logistics. Like if we were to get a porta potty up there, how much would it cost? Could Pat do it
Yeah.
for like a day?
Would we have to hire a police for any overindulgence?
Well, they're there.
I mean,
No, I mean that happens in
Well,
the
is
town.
there gonna be any liquor?
We're not.
Yeah,
We're not
that's, it's on
supporting.
town land, so you're gonna have to ask your selectmen about that,
Yeah.
anyway,
We can,
because.
we can ask people to bring their own
You
lemonade.
need a permit?
They can.
If people bring their own,
Not
is
on
it less
town
of an
land.
issue?
I don't
Like
I
if
have
we're
no
not
idea. It's a good
providing
question.
it?
Forest Service.
All right,
people,
I'll
I don't
ask
believe on
Bob.
the town land. Well, they have campouts and all sorts of functions up there that through the school.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Isn't that open carry? That's a state law against that.
I like to plan parties.
Apparently not. Wasn't there a thing a couple years ago that it was actually legal to carry an open container in down here? And then
There was, and they changed it.
and they changed, yeah,
Yeah, there was.
because it was actually
But
legal
there's
to
also
one.
issues with the school.
was
If you're
legal.
within
It
the
was
zone of
legal,
the school.
but it was only a local ordinance, I believe, that changed it. If I remember my couple years. Anyway, on to Gray's Inn. Anything else for?
Wait, the signs,
Prospect.
Prospect, they're just being printed. And
Yes.
then we're gonna put them up once they're done.
Yes. Sorry about the signs are being printed.
Okay.
We haven't heard back yet. Also on Prospect, the maps are on their way. I haven't heard anything.
I saw that weird. I'm done. Johnson, we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
For Gray's Inn, the only thing I have is if the town does spray the roadsides, do we want in on that for the knotweed out there? Is the question. I mean, I think we are falling far, far behind and have no hope of ever getting rid of the knotweed out there.
Didn't we get an article from Susan May showing in England how they have some sort of critter that now consumes the knotweed?
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
What?
I don't know, is it a hedgehog?
Oh, boy.
Some very microscopic, perhaps, critter.
Mm-hmm.
And they're testing it out in England in different spots and that sort of thing.
Yeah, 'cause it's getting really bad along the falls too.
I don't know. I didn't know there's any up there. I should go look.
Isn't it just the town inside?
Yeah, along the sidewalk there's a patch now that's maybe about 50 feet long and about 12 feet deep.
And there's a couple big
Well,
ones
maybe
leading into
as-
the falls.
It's right across from the one that when you drive down Carter Notch, next to the castle there.
Yeah.
You can see the one that's like right on the road.
Yep.
Right across from there.
Of course.
Well,
Makes
maybe
sense.
as part of our next work session for wood chips or whatever, we should include knotweed pulling. You know, just tackle
Make sure
it.
we don't use the same shoes when we go back up to the falls.
Yeah. And bring a tarp.
Yep.
That's also
And
in the
truck.
area where there's poison
And lots of
ivy
poison
too,
ivy,
so-
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of
I have
poison
one.
over
I
there.
can't
Alright.
go down there.
One item.
Okay.
You're done.
Yeah, so it seems like the commission would not be interested in having the town
Yeah.
spray or Gray's
You're
Inn.
not gonna wanna spray near any water
Well,
sources.
it's so
I don't
close to
Yeah.
the
I think
stream.
we should just leave it be, being that it's,
It's just a bad-
they're gonna spray the town.
Alright.
Let's leave.
Something we can think about maybe for future years if we actually want to hire someone in there to go pull it. I haven't actually read the terms of the whatever. You know, I know we're all done with the wetlands restoration, but
Yeah.
there's not supposed to be
Like,
Japanese
there should
knotweed in
be
it.
Some high school
Right,
kids
but then
that
we
need
met some
summer
cost.
jobs.
Some Eagle Scouts.
How do you,
All right.
How do we get a
did
troop?
you,
Get a troop
That's a
pulling.
great
did you hear
idea.
anything back about the Jackson Ski Tour easement and the cutting?
I didn't hear anything back about
I
that.
haven't either.
There was, I just CC'd, I think Pam and Brian, because I thought you were the two most likely. There was a resident up off of, I forget the road,
Pine Brook Road. So,
who thought there was he or she, they want to
They.
clear their view. And they had been told that they couldn't go right up to the property line because of something having to do with the ski touring easement on the land. And I was like, I know nothing.
What it comes down to, if it's on their property and they don't have any restrictions in their deed,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah,
nothing that
that-
an easement's going to affect.
Yeah, there.
And I thought you guys were kind of getting to that point, which is, you know.
yeah, the only my input was just I know that a couple other butters did all their tree work before that easement. They talked to the Jackson Ski Tour and basically said,
The
"Hey,
easement's
we-
on somebody else's land.
Yeah.
It's on their land.
Not though.
Jackson Ski Tour
Yeah.
has the easement."
I think, I got the impression they were asking to cut trees on their own land, but thought they might be.
No, they
So,
can't.
yeah.
An easement that's on somebody else's
Yeah.
land cannot affect the abutter's land.
Right.
You know, they still have the right to go right up to the
Whatever the rule
property
is.
line, yeah.
I don't think you can cut every
What
tree
road
on
is
the
this?
property
Where are
line. I thought there was a
You know where the Ross parents live?
Yep.
There's like that loop there,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
road. It's like on the downhill side of that,
Yeah, okay.
and the ski touring lands below
There's
it.
not much.
But they're trying to build a new
We
trail.
don't have any.
No, they just wanted to open up their view by cutting trees on their property, and they thought they had been restricted by
yeah.
I mean,
an
there
abutting
Oh, this
property.
is a private landowner.
Yeah.
Okay.
restrictions
But
Subdivision ordinance or something.
But we
like
don't
that.
know if they got permission or not.
I don't think they need permission, is what we were all getting to in the emails. That they
Okay.
should, but they should figure it out on their own.
Okay.
Sounds like questions to pay 'em.
Yep.
That's what I'd say. I'd say ask
There
Pam.
might be something,
I think it's 25 feet.
well, that's your side lot line, okay, but
Yeah,
not
you can
necessarily
cut-
whether or not
You can cut to your line. I think.
Yeah,
I think with these other, the other people who did the tree work, I think they asked Jackson Skeetor if they could cut trees
On
on
Jackson.
Jackson Skeetor's land, and they recommended do it now
Yeah.
before this easement.
Yep. That makes
So,
sense. All right. And I know I said last month I would send out the email about the conservation easements, and I didn't. But I will do it this month.
maybe we should send those letters out, maybe the Julie's.
Do you, oh, the letter? Yes, we can
Yeah,
resend
send
the letters.
out, so
Okay.
we have that.
Yes, I didn't have that as an
Are
item.
we all just doing the same properties, or are we gonna figure that out later?
We are all doing the same properties, but I can
can't
double
remember
check
what my
that.
property was.
Great.
I will
I actually
dig
think
through the old minutes and find the list from
mine
last
was
year.
ski touring, I think, in the end.
I think
Because
it's
I didn't end up
Gabriel.
doing
Right.
much.
you did the.
Yes, yeah, you did Lower
the
Gabriel.
landing?
And I think the only one is
And
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
Tilneys,
somebody else.
That one's,
which perhaps
is
could
that
be you.
just recently
Let me know.
been
All right.
monitored by us?
Yep.
Did we
When
let
I-
that one go?
When I checked all the info in the
All right.
register
Anything
out
else?
there, it was like, ski touring.
Yeah, I just
Yes.
had one more item, I'm sorry,
Yep.
back in the falls.
Oh, no.
And it's about the porta potty and the fact that it's a wood structure
Mm-hmm.
and it's not so pretty. One of the great ideas that we came up with was to sponsor an art contest
Ooh.
for someone to put a mural, paint a mural on the back of that thing to hide it some.
Really?
I would imagine it would be red next year, if the way this
No,
one
no,
went.
no, I'm talking about something that is going to be a greenscape
Mm-hmm.
so that it's more hidden.
Yeah.
And my recommendation is that we would get Dick DeValiant to be the one of the judges
That's how we do it.
for
We'll probably make it disappear.
the activity, and we should maybe sponsor that.
As long as it's not cheesy.
I think that it will make it stand out more.
Yeah, I think it might be
Oh no,
cheesy.
I'm talking about something that will change it from being a wonderful, right now, white pine ugly to something that looks more like your shirt. Something
Like
that's
camouflage?
Green camouflage, something that would hide it.
Or just paint it green.
I think it looks. I might differ with you
Giant
here. I think it
poison
looks. I think it looks tasteful the way that it is. I fear that trying
I
to
don't think they
camouflage
make
it.
any porta potty.
Tasteful.
No, I don't.
I vote for
I
orange and
think
black
that the
camo
shed
and a pink
itself
camo.
is. Well done.
Having seen many others that have been done really nicely have disappeared into
Yeah,
the
but some-
landscape, which ours does not.
False finish.
Do you
kind of
really
work
mean
looks
having
kinda
it painted
cheesy.
camouflage pattern?
No,
Like
no.
this
No.
shirt?
It's like painted on it or something.
I would imagine we could ask for color. I assume they're letting it age before they paint it, like they did the other one.
I know it has
Yeah.
to age,
Yeah.
yes. But something for next year.
Yeah.
But
Color?
you gotta
Lilac bush
be- You
or
gotta be really good
anything
at that.
other than what it is.
Yeah, but a
It's up
lilac,
to the
but
artist.
a lilac bush out of season was ridiculous.
Phil, if you ask, is it garland that you use? Garland, is it
Garland?
garland? They may have a catalog of different,
No,
I believe
it's just,
they do, because I asked him once, I said, why is that gray and why is that one like that? He said, oh, we have catalogs.
Yeah, and the reason that one's that way is because it was built by the town.
Well, he may have a camouflaged one in his catalog.
I've seen them done very tastefully,
Yeah,
and this one is not tasteful.
But if
yeah.
would you like us to ask Pat to paint it a subdued color when he chooses the color, or have?
yeah, I would prefer to not see it be painted in a mural style myself. Having worked in that trade for very, very good people from Europe who are very, very good at it, I don't really know if I want to see the facade look. I don't know.
Like it's disappeared.
Well, maybe use a natural product to cover it, cedar shingles.
All right, we'll ask it. Get it painted a nice neutral something.
If you have
Maybe,
a
but I think we
contest
should
in the
vote on
town,
that.
Yeah.
Comes to
town
pass.
leaders design, or if they don't like it.
I don't know, it's just an idea, I think, right now.
Yeah, that's good to make it look better.
Something, you know,
Hmm.
It would be nice to make it go away.
If you're all in Jackson residents.
Yeah, if
Right.
you minimize the usage, you won't need it.
I'm not arguing.
Paint it like a covered bridge. All right.
Can I change this?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Is the property up by the historic museum,
Mhm.
the backfill parking lot, up the hill, right at the corner, is that town property?
Yes.
I believe
Is
so.
that something we talked about in this meeting, or is that some other meeting I
Well,
bring?
regarding what? We don't.
Well, I thought it's a bit used for heavy equipment, sort of like, a place they park their cars all weekend, but also I noticed part of it is tarmac, part of it is gravel. What is the history? Is there a short
Used to be
story?
well, there used to be a building there, a bowling alley, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there's it's not an easement, but the family that owns the house above it, they own part of that parking lot area. And then the rest is the town, but it's a little vague, even just going
Yeah, it's
over.
very vague. Is there,
Didn't they used to dump sand there or something? Wasn't there
Yeah.
big? There used to be a
It's
sand
been-
spot.
Yeah, it's been used or misused.
Misused is
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
It's actually grown in size, like it's.
oh,
I think since the other family residents bought that property, they've been able to sort of help manage that because it was sort of a dumping site. So it was just growing.
so should the tarmac stay or go?
Well, usually the road's pretty bad, so they've dug that out once or twice to kind of direct the water so it doesn't continue to erode down the whole parking area. And then they created that berm
Yes,
that
very
then again
nice.
funneled that once again. I mean,
Well, can I suggest that they,
that's a selectman thing. I don't believe that's.
Yeah, I think it would have to be
something that we-
the select board.
Nothing to do with resource.
Well, no, not
Yeah.
really, no.
It's a parking lot.
Not unless they need a
parking
wetlands
lot.
permit.
There's no picnicking there, there's no looking at the waterfalls there.
No,
Well, you can do whatever you want when you're there, but it's not something that we
It's not-
manage. In fact,
Yeah.
So it's nothing that this commission manages.
we can recommend something.
I'll recommend things, okay. Picnic tables, improve the view of the waterfalls, get that tarmac, get it more level so people are parking, they aren't twisting their
It
ankles.
all requires money.
Could
Well,
reduce
$2,000
impact on the falls.
From the budget of the things.
That's not how that
It's
works.
not- That's for the west side or east side of
Yeah.
Could I, as a resident, suggest that be put to the selectmen by this committee, that they get spiffed up or put some picnic tables and improve the
the.
view? Any objections?
We can definitely pass your idea on. I don't know for sure.
And you could probably go to the selectmen's meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Present it
you
yourself,
might
too.
be, you might be better off going to the directly to the source on that.
So is that a yes or a no?
I mean, we can. I will definitely pass on to Bob
Liaison.
that you mentioned it here. They would. I think the select board have to say this is a property we want the conservation commission to like give opinions on, for us to give our opinion on it. But yeah.
It could be.
But I think you
written-
have to initiate the idea with them, perhaps. Is that what you mean first, before we are asked to advise on it?
I would assume. I don't know
Maybe we
that.
could have the picnic table in memory of Larry, that was, where that whole land be designed with the way Larry would like it.
Mhm.
The Larry Park. Art
Yeah.
Park.
No,
Because
the no shoes park.
if there was a sidewalk connecting it to the business district with a crosswalk, it'd be helpful to the business district. If
Yeah.
you made it more attractive and
Mhm.
put it in memory of someone. And
Well, now that the historical side is nicer to look at, yeah, that view used to not be so pleasing.
I have an issue on the other side, and this may fit in with the quitclaim deed, is the section where the snow roller is. And now, I'm not aware of the other parking that might have been the other people that from perhaps the upper part of the falls that are now parking, but they're parking right in front of the snow roller, and in front of the benches and along the lawn
Right.
there. And
Wentworth.
I have, I'm not sure
Well,
that's part of
That
the
is-
problem
that-
that comes from Wentworth.
But that is the Wentworth owned property, right up, all the way right up to the,
But if you look at
Yeah,
the deep
this-
thing, there may be some of it, I think it goes from the Stone Bridge to the Iron Bridge, is this part of this mallet town.
Larry,
Get that deep.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Larry always said that the town didn't own that land, but had an easement that could
Right.
allow us to basically kick Wentworth parking out, but we never forced
and
it
we looked
out
at
of
that
a.
more specifically at the planning board more recently as to the actual ownership, and the town does not own that property.
The Wentworth.
It's the Wentworth owns that property, and the rest of it is owned by the
Sure.
condominium association, and there's common land. We also have an easement over the common land that's owned by the condominium association. And so there's two areas, one that's specifically uniquely owned to the Wentworth property, and then there's a common area and common access, that an easement to the town that was allowed by exactly what you described.
Right.
And that is the way it is. That property is not the town's property.
Okay.
And the Wentworth,
It's another problem
yeah, the
on that
Wentworth
road.
recently put up some no parking signs too. I noticed at the little tool shed garage thing.
Yes.
Yeah, they prefer not to have parking there too, so but that is their property and is their control.
Okay. I didn't know, well, someone mentioned that some of the overflow of the parking at the falls, and obviously that's the first parking lot
That
to
mostly,
the falls.
most of the parking that's overflow there is from
From the
wedding activity
yeah.
from Wentworth. When they get 100 cars in and they don't have 100 car spaces
Yeah.
for those weddings, and it's unusual for them to have a wedding that large, but they occasionally do. And you'll notice it doesn't happen on Saturday; it happens on Friday night.
Well, and they stay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they're there for the whole weekend. Yeah, parking.
But you'll see the occurrence on
Yes, yeah,
on
yeah,
Friday
yeah,
night. It's
yeah.
not midday Friday. It's
Well, I have noticed that some of the cars are from New Hampshire, so I thought, oh, well, maybe they're not all, being that they're not all spending the night, but maybe they're still having destination weddings. Whatever.
All right. Anything else? Great.
I think motion to adjourn.
Any seconds? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for coming.
Chairman,